A brief encounter like wind through the trees came so suddenly.
Whoops.
From Challengers Comics and Conversation in Chicago, this is Contest of Challengers. And now, here are Dal and Patrick.
There it is. All right, recording in progress. Hooray.
Hooray.
I wonder how... Oh, man, I got to turn my volume down. You're super loud. Oh, the Windows 10 volume bar is horizontal, no longer vertical.
It's like living in the future.
It's definitely a change. Yeah, I got to keep... I wonder if those speaker noises will come through.
Maybe.
I definitely need to get a better microphone for me because I'm just using a standard little LabTech solo mic that's not meant for podcast recording. You have the good microphone, which I don't know how you wound up with that.
It's wasted on me.
It's wasted on you. I should have it. I should have it immediately, but...
Wasted on my terrible mumbling and nonsense.
Yeah, well, we'll see how mumbly it comes through. So this episode, we're definitely going to do things a little bit different in the post-production phase, mainly because I had never recorded a Skype conversation before last week, and it wound up splitting the channels with me in your left ear and you in the right ear, and that didn't work well for a lot of people.
No?
So I think I have it fixed, or I will have it fixed. It does mean a few more steps, but so be it.
Okay.
Provided it actually works. And like I was telling you before, this recording just cut off toward the end of last episode. And at the point that I was editing it, I didn't realize how much we lost. It may have been mere moments. It may have been like a couple of minutes.
Huh.
I had to back up to a point where I could edit it where you weren't in mid-sentence and just say that. Then I had to drop in a point that said, and it cut off, everybody. So there you go. And it's so weird. The change in audio between the drop in at the end, because I used the old Dropbox way, and then Kent's segment where he was on Jimmy's iPhone was also a tremendously different sound quality experience.
Oh.
As it stands, there is not a Kent segment this week, not because we didn't want to do it, but because he didn't do it.
Yep.
So there you go, everyone who was waiting for Kent to recommend books. He hasn't recorded anything for us this week because the new way of doing it was going to be him doing it on his own without us having to do it with him.
I would just assume at this point that he liked everything from this week, so if you've been following his recommendations, just come in and buy everything.
Buy everything.
He liked all of it.
Like all of it.
Yep.
All of it and everything.
Kent picks the store.
Hey, did you change the pick of the week when you were in this morning before I got in?
No, but I left it how I found it.
Okay, it was nothing.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, what we had picked on Wednesday migrated to the graphic novel rack, and something else is probably in its place.
Or maybe it was sold.
But, I mean, something else was there, because I noticed that all of the books that we had put in that spot were shifted to the graphic novel rack. They were all still there.
But I mean, there was only one in the Challenger's Choice spot, I thought.
No, I put all of them there to make room.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that.
So Jimmy moved all of them out on Thursday to put something else in that spot that he either put back or sold all of.
Well, either way. Just one more fun difference between Wednesdays, Thursdays, and Fridays.
Sure.
What I like to do on Fridays is take a Post-it note and write "not" on it, and then just stick it to whatever book he had put in the choice spot.
Doesn't seem very effective as a sales tool.
No, I don't do that. Of course I don't. And again, I don't know what he recommended this week because nothing was there.
Yeah, who knows?
Well, I spent most of my day trying to dissuade people from going to see the Fantastic Four.
It was terrible.
I succeeded, and at least Don Cardenas and Melody Cardenas did not go see it.
I mean, even as a train wreck, it's not that entertaining. It's just a bad movie. Like, not a good bad movie, just a bad movie.
And the longer I think about it, the worse it gets.
Yeah, it fails on some basic fundamental storytelling levels. Like, without giving any spoilers away, because...
I feel like we should give spoilers just to make people not go if they haven't seen it.
Yeah, fine. All right, here we go.
Look, before we get into this, it's a bad movie. You shouldn't go see it. If you still want to, that's cool, but we're probably going to burn
It's
about
not
5
cool.
minutes of time.
No, it's not cool.
No, I mean, if people want to see a bad movie, that's fine.
I don't know. I mean, the life is too short. The world has too many good things in it to willingly go see something bad. And again, not entertaining bad. There are movies I've seen that are quote unquote bad that were still entertaining just because of how unbelievably misguided they were or how ham-fistedly they tried to tell their stupid story. This is just bad, like made badly, and not in like The Room sort of way, but just it had a dumb idea for a script and it executed it as shallowly and boringly as possible. And
By
at the
The
end of
Room,
the day,
Dal meant a movie, a notoriously bad movie called The Room.
yeah.
You can look it up and be amazed at how terrible it is.
Yeah, that's a movie that you can pull so many insane things from. This is just forgettable. Like, as soon as it's over, you're just like, all right, that happened. Like, so my biggest problems with it, and I don't know if this is a spoiler or not, and I genuinely don't care. Every part that should be important to the movie, like character growth or drama or rising action or something, is a montage. And that's baffling to me because the montage is for elements where it's like, oh, this is boring, so we're going to just skim over this and tell you these things happened.
And there are multiple montages.
What they're telling you happened is these characters became friends. They valued each other's opinions. They learned to work together as a team. They learned how to use their powers. And it's like, that's your movie. That's your whole stupid movie. And you decided to do that part, the part that people want to see as montages. And then you made the boring stuff that should be in the montage your movie. Oh my God. It's just bad. There's no other better word for it. It's a bad movie.
It was an interesting choice to, once they get their powers and it's established they each have some sort of ability, to time jump by a year.
Yeah, except that was the most interesting part of the film is, like, if you're going to shoot it like a horror movie, if you're going to shoot the whole thing as, like, basically Chronicle, where these kids have something horrible happen to them, and they think it's good, but then they find out it's real bad. Like, there's an arc of that you need to honor, and that's when things get super creepy and weird, you can't just, like, cut and go, all right, everything worked out somehow. Like, no, that's your story. That's your entire second act, and you went, nah, it's fine.
There's a really great Monty Python episode that tells one long story. It's a one skit episode, and there's
Is it the Blancmange one?
No.
Okay.
There's a specific scene. It's the bicycle ride. There's a specific scene where the Graham Chapman character is caught by, I think, French revolutionaries and up against a firing squad. And they count down, and then the screen goes black, and the phrase "scene missing" appears. And the next scene is everybody in a whole different setting saying, "Wow, I can't believe we got out of that."
Yep.
You know, it's even worse than Deus Ex Machina. It's just nothing. Scene missing. That's all.
Yeah, I mean, because it's these characters, like, them getting their powers is not the Stan Lee, Jack Kirby. Things are real bad. I don't know. I guess we can control it. All right, let's become a team of Fantastic Fours or whatever. I'm paraphrasing. This is completely, like, the best scene in the entire movie is Miles Teller as Reed Richards as a completely stretched out weirdo, like, dude who is terrified for his friends and doesn't know what happened to him and doesn't know what happened to himself. And needs to be sedated because he's completely freaking out. And it's like, that's actually interesting. I don't know if it's a great way of envisioning the Fantastic Four, but as a crazy science movie, all right, now I'm interested. Now you've done something interesting with these characters. And then they skip right over it. They skip right over every consequence of that in favor of, oh, it all worked out. Over a year, they figured out how to use their powers and how to get along together. And it's like, man, no, I shouldn't have to mention that is the drama. That is, how do they overcome their difficulties? How do they surmount an obstacle? That's basic dramatic storytelling. And you just went, I don't know, they did. Okay, great. Like, oh my God. It's such a frustrating movie because just when it looks like it's going to get good, they skip over it. And what they give you is like
Not
resetting to a completely different bland status quo. Yeah.
There's no chemistry between anybody.
No, because all the parts where they would have chemistry are a montage. Like that's what irks me so much about the movie is that the points where we should be learning to care about these characters or seeing them interact with one another to understand the things that we're basically being told. These characters are siblings. These characters like each other. To actually demonstrate that is the movie, and they didn't do any of that. They just showed them working together and went, I don't know, I guess they're friends now. Why are they friends? What do they like about one another? What do they dislike about one another? Like, again, this is basic dramatic storytelling. I can't imagine in what stage of the movie making that felt like a good idea, if it was as basic as like writing the script or if it was 11th hour director is locked out of the editing room, production. Like, where did they feel like that was the part that you should cut from the film? Like, that's crazy to me.
So, do you like music? Is that your thing?
Yeah. Oh my god. Yes. And here's the stupid thing. Yes. Like, of her like two character traits in the movie. Yes, one of them is that she likes music.
Yes, she needs music.
Like, that's a joke when he says it, and yet it is basically like if you're making a bullet point list of what Susan Storm's characteristics are, you would just put likes music. Even later in the movie when they're like, what kind of music? I don't know, any kind, it helps me think. So she's not even a fan of a specific band, despite mentioning Portishead by name.
Yes, not Portistatic.
Yeah, no, I wish. It's not that she's a Portishead fan. She just happens to be listening to Portishead at that time. Like, all right, whatever. That's more than most characters get. I don't know that I could name 3 things about Johnny Storm that are portrayed in that movie.
Street racer.
Yes. He is angry at his dad, too.
And has more chemistry with his sister than Reed does.
I don't even know if he likes his sister or doesn't like his sister. They share so little dialogue. And most of it's perfunctory. Were you street racing again? Like, so do they get along or do they not get along? Like, these are basic questions
not.
I should not have to ask after 100 minutes of a Fantastic Four movie. Do Johnny and Sue get along or not get along? I don't know.
Wow, that's a long break of silence.
I was waiting for you to say something. I was done.
Oh, all right.
What more is there to say? The popcorn was delicious.
It wasn't that great. We could rag on more about it, but that's giving it more time than it deserves, I guess.
Again, like, as angry as I sound about it, it's a totally forgettable movie. Like, I can't imagine this making anyone's list of exciting films of 2015. It's just, it makes a bunch of bad choices, and that makes for a bad movie, and not even in a way that is entertaining. It's just bad. It's not worth anyone's time or money, believe me.
Everybody is allowed their own opinion, and everybody has different taste, but if you legitimately like this movie, come in to talk to us about it. We'll tell you what's wrong.
Come in and talk to Patrick about it. I don't know that I could bear a conversation where someone, like, either as a joke, like trolling us, or sincerely tries to defend Fantastic Four as a quality film. Like, I can't imagine how sad that conversation would be.
Instead of talking about the Fantastic Four in the store or on this podcast, we can, in fact, talk about a bunch of new titles that Marvel's putting out, but not just Marvel. So this is a very serious point of this podcast, and if there's only one thing you take away from this episode, don't let it be how much we hate Fantastic Four. Let it be this. In the month of October 2015, there are scheduled to be over 100 new #1 issues.
Yep.
Now that's between all the publishing companies, that's ongoing series, miniseries, one-shots, whatever. 100 new #1s for October.
Yep.
Never before in the history of comics has this happened.
I don't know if that's true.
That's true.
Really?
Yeah, I looked it up.
Like, even when New 52 started?
Yeah.
Huh.
100 new #1s.
That's a lot then.
Also, most of them are from major companies. Most of them are from Marvel. A lot of them look really good. Here's the problem. They're all scheduled for October. we have to order all of these, mostly blind because we don't have orders from people. We did print up Marvel all new, all different number ones for October sheets that club members get in their boxes. So it'll be super helpful. People fill that out and turn that back in. I'm anticipating at most 18% of our club members returning those to us.
Very specific number.
But here's the thing. With 100 new number ones coming out in October, we can't afford to bet hard on any of them. I don't mean some of them. I don't mean part of them. I mean none of them. So we don't have the money for October to buy all of these new books. So we're going to be very, very conservative. And there are books that we think look phenomenal. We may not be able to give the attention we want to financially to have them in stock. So your pre-orders mean more now than ever before. So please, if you are a subscriber at our store and there are books you know that you want for October, please let us know ahead of time, at the very least, by the second week of September, so we can ensure that we have these books for you. Is that a too much begging? Is that okay of a plea?
That's fine for me. Hopefully it does not fall on deaf ears. I don't know.
There's just so many books.
There's a lot.
And there's so many number ones. There's so many.
There really are. It's a lot.
There's just so many.
In fairness, I mean, I don't want to devil's advocate this, but there's a lot of number ones that are coming out from companies that we just will not carry. Like either companies right now that we just don't order from, or companies that are brand new that we don't plan on ordering from, because there's a few companies that are definitely doing the, soon to be a major motion picture. It comes pre-optioned. The only reason this story exists is because some producer had an idea for it, but you can't make a new movie. You have to make a graphic novel that becomes a movie, because that's how things work now. So there's companies like that that are doing like 3 or 4 different single comics. Can't remember the name of the company. It's like Red something. I don't know. Regardless of pre-orders, it would need a lot of pre-orders for us to decide to carry it for the shelves. It's not stuff that looks like anybody would care about, while, new books from publishers that we're already carrying will get more of a look.
Sure, but there's still way more of those than on an average month.
Oh yeah, I mean, it's even if you discount the companies that we just wouldn't carry or don't carry, I don't know that you're knocking off more than like 30 or 40 books. You still got about 60 new number ones. And that's following on from everything that's still coming out. All the DC stuff is still coming out. All the Marvel and Dark Horse and Image stuff is still coming out.
Secret Wars number 8, in theory.
Yeah. A lot of Secret Wars final issues are coming out in October as well.
I mean, if the Marvel solicits just had Secret Wars 8, Invincible Iron Man number 1, Extraordinary X-Men number 1, Doctor Strange number 1, those 4 right there are enough to be books that we spend a lot of money on.
Sure.
Those will be the higher of the orders that we do for this month. Yep. That's just 4 titles.
Yeah.
If those were 1 a week for the month, that would
some of those are double shipping in the month of October.
Oh God, really?
Amazing Spider-Man, Extraordinary X-Men, I think are both double shipping.
Oh, I hadn't mentioned Amazing Spider-Man, but yeah, that's one of them.
I assume Amazing Spider-Man is going to be one of our top ordered books, just based on every other time they've restarted Spider-Man.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'll tell you what I'm a little disappointed about, and I hadn't really considered it until I read a recent interview with Brian Michael Bendis talking about it.
Yeah.
Before that Marvel had announced Amazing Spider-Man with Peter Parker in a global setting was going to be a book that was coming out of all new, all different Marvel. Prior to that, they had announced a different Spider-Man book just called Spider-Man, and it was the Miles Morales starring book by Brian Michael Bendis and Sarah Pichelli. And that got a lot of attention because it was like, even before they said Peter Parker was a thing, it's like, no, Miles Morales is Spider-Man, not a Spider-Man or Spider something. He's Spider-Man. It's like, that's great. And then they, 2 weeks later, undercut it by going, oh yeah, there's an Amazing Spider-Man comic. And I still thought, well, they're coming out at the same time, so that's fine. No, Amazing Spider-Man beats Spider-Man to market by at least a month.
Yep.
So you went from Miles Morales is Spider-Man to Miles Morales is a Spider-Man to Miles Morales is the other Spider-Man. And it's like, well, great. We're right back where we started. Good job, Marvel.
I'm just really worried because there's so many things happening, and not the least of which is the new wave of hip-hop covers,
Mm-hmm.
of which most of them have even harder thresholds to hit than the Run the Jewels covers that they'd previously done.
Yeah, there's some we'll hit by mistake almost.
But there's others we won't even come close.
No.
Because most of their thresholds are 150 to 200% of a pre-existing single issue that in some way ties to the book it's connected to.
Uh-huh.
I was looking at the list, and I don't remember specifics, but I remember laughing at a lot of them. Like, there's no way we can come close to some of these.
Yeah, I want to check and see. Like, there's a couple books that I think we'll order really high on that maybe, like, other stores wouldn't, and that's usually how we hit these things, is like, our customers allow us to get a bunch of, like, Unbeatable Squirrel Girls or Howard the Ducks, and it's like, well, that's going to help us. What am I going to look up? I'll look up Doctor Strange #1.
That is tied to Thor.
That could be a problem. It depends on which Thor.
Yeah, and all these things are tied to the pre-Secret Wars numbers.
Right.
You have the Marvel mailer, you can just pull that up.
I could, but I'll go on the Diamond site. Oh yeah, the Doctor Strange one is the Dr. Dre cover. That makes sense. It's of Thor's #2. Okay. Which, oh man, I don't know. Like, it's 170, we got to beat 175% of Thor's #2. We were going to order really high on Doctor Strange. I honestly don't know if we were going to order that high. That's really, really, really high.
Here, I've got the full list, and I'll just run down it real quick.
For a $5 book. Doctor Strange is a $5 book.
Yeah, don't forget, most of these Marvel books are going to be, the #1's going to be $5. That's also going to really...
Or $6. Some of them are $6. Uh-huh.
That's going to hurt so bad. Amazing Spider-Man #1. You must exceed 150% of Amazing Spider-Man Renew Your Vows #2. Okay, that's the Secret Wars one, so I was wrong about that. I don't know that we can do 150%.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to think of what we did on, because we're up and down on the Secret Wars stuff. So I feel like maybe we could.
All right, we'll call that one a maybe.
Like, I would say that one's a maybe.
Astonishing Ant-Man #1 is 125% of Ant-Man #2. I think that we can do.
Yeah, because our number was not huge to start with. And I'm not saying it was bad. It just wasn't a gigantic number. And we only have to go up 25%, which I think we would for a #1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Extraordinary X-Men #1 is 200% of All New X-Men #34.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. Right. I mean, some of these I really got to know what pre-orders are going to look like for these, because right now my expectation for something like Extraordinary X-Men is that we would not be ordering 200% of an all-new X-Men number.
No. Guardians of the Galaxy #1 is 175% of Guardians of the Galaxy 26, which was their final issue.
No way.
Invincible Iron Man...
I mean, it's by the same creative team,
Yeah.
I just assume that in the 3 months between Guardians of the Galaxy 26 and Guardians of the Galaxy #1, we already know who all the fans of those books are. And while some people will try out a new #1, and hopefully, if Marvel actually does some outreach for all new, all different Marvel, they'll draw in some customers in the same way that people came in for the new 52. I still wouldn't expect it to go up 75%. I mean, Jesus, no. I don't know about that.
Invincible Iron Man #1 is 160% of Old Man Logan #1.
Yeah, maybe.
Not Superior Iron Man.
No, because that book didn't sell.
Right. But just, it's the same writer, so, okay, yeah.
Maybe. Again, like, Old Man Logan is kind of like an Ant-Man, where it's not a book that we were ordering at the highest levels. Like, Thor's, which is the Doctor Strange one, is a book that we order a lot of.
Yeah.
So having us beat that in a sizable way is going to be difficult, because we're already, like, that's on a... It would be like on the Image side, like trying to beat like Walking Dead. Could you? Sure, but man, very few books sell more than that.
Captain America's Sam Wilson, 175% of all new Captain America number 3.
I don't know, maybe. Probably not.
Maybe. Yeah.
I don't know if people care about Sam Wilson Captain America in a way that's going to generate sales. I was always a little surprised at how quickly all new Captain America was dropping.
Which, hopefully at number 3 it dropped enough that we could
maybe
compare. I don't know. Unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 1 is 150% of Unbeatable Squirrel Girl number 2.
No. We were definitely over ordering by the time Unbeatable Squirrel Girl 2 was coming out. Our orders had not stabilized yet.
Yep.
I don't think we're going to be able to do 150% of that number for a new number 1. I really don't think so.
I don't expect our new Squirrel Girl numbers to be that much higher than our previous or current Squirrel Girl numbers at this point.
Yeah, which the final issue of that comes out in August. The first issue of the new series comes out maybe less than 2 months later.
Yep.
Like, that's not... Who is jumping on at that point? Maybe somebody, maybe, but not 50% more people. No.
Uncanny Avengers number 1, 150% of Uncanny Avengers number 2, the second go-round, as opposed to this being the third go-round.
Yeah. I don't know, maybe. I mean, Uncanny Avengers is definitely going to be one of those books that I let the subscriber numbers tell the story.
I seriously doubt it.
It's not a book I feel like getting behind. So, I mean, if we happen to hit it, sure, but we wouldn't chase it.
Uncanny Inhumans number 1, 150% of Uncanny Inhumans 0.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, we
sell
didn't
better than we expected it to.
Yeah, well, we didn't. It's initial order, so we did not initial order very heavy on Uncanny Humans number 0. Maybe.
Angela, Queen of Hell number 1 is 200% of Angela, Asgard's Assassin number 6.
No, definitely not.
Definitely not. Blade number 1, I think we can skip this because it's not going to...
irrelevant.
Yeah. However, Blade number 1 is 125% of Ms. Marvel 16.
No.
Yeah, Ms. Marvel's a good book for us. Yeah,
but, I mean, those are local guys and we would maybe get behind it. I don't know.
Contest of Champions number 1 is 175% of Future Imperfect 2.
Probably not.
Is that just because it's Maestro?
Yeah, I would think so.
Howling Commandos of S.H.I.E.L.D. number 1 is 150% of Mrs. Deadpool and Howling Commandos number 2.
No. I mean,
actually,
you took out the most marketable thing from the title.
Actually, that's a maybe for us.
Okay.
For us specifically.
I got it.
Karnak number 1. Can you guess what it's tied to?
I'm looking right at it, so yes, I can.
Ah, damn it. 200% of Ms. Marvel 14.
I think
I
we
like
would do that.
The previous book is tied to Ms. Marvel 16. This one is Ms. Marvel 14.
I can't imagine why, but I don't know. Yeah, Karnak is one that we will definitely...
Yeah, but 200% of Ms. Marvel, which is one of our better books?
Yeah, I think we could probably do that. It seems like a stretch, but I think we could do it. I think we could move those over a month and a half or so.
All right. New Avengers number 1, match to 125% of New Avengers 32.
Yeah, maybe. I think a lot of people were reading New Avengers by the time it hit 32 for the end of the Hickman storyline. I don't know that title on its own merits has a huge draw. I'm excited about it because I like Al Ewing a lot, but yeah, I don't know if the art and his kind of a lack of a huge audience is going to beat Hickman's run, even for a number 1.
Spider-Gwen number 1 is 125% of Spider-Gwen number 3. That I don't know that our Spider-Gwen numbers have gone down rapidly. I don't know that we could get back up to number 1 level.
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of like the Unbeatable Squirrel Girl thing of just, at that point we were ordering too many. So having to go over what was too many at that point with a new number 1 is kind of a crapshoot. We could, again, hit it accidentally, but I don't know that we would definitely or try to.
Spider-Man 2099 number 1 matched to 175% of Spider-Man 2099 number 12. 12 was after Spider-Verse, right?
Yes, that was the last or second to last issue, something.
Okay.
Either way, we would not hit that number.
Here's what doesn't make any sense. Why is it 125% for Spider-Gwen, but 175% for Spider-Man 2099?
I think for Spider-Gwen, it's because they feel like that number was really good, and again, it's kind of for us, if you said like 150%, we were already selling as much as we possibly could. The ceiling for that has kind of already been reached. While for Spider-Man, the numbers were pretty low, so going up 75% on that is less copies than something like going up 25% on Spider-Gwen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I guess. I feel like most of this is dartboarding, especially when you throw in the 160% that was for Old Man Logan. Like, what?
For me, like, the biggest question mark one of, like, you've got to be kidding me, is the 200% of Angela Asgard's Assassin number 6 for Angela Queen of Hell number 1. And it's like, man, I don't think making her Queen of Hell is going to double your sales on that book.
No.
Will it go up with the new number 1? Sure, it always does. Is it going to double? No, it is not going to double.
Nope.
That's a crazy number to expect.
And
you're just asking people to sit on that book. 200%.
The charts that we're looking at, it tells us who the artist is for each hip-hop variant.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't... I would prefer if it said who the hip-hop artist was.
Yeah, like what cover they were homaging. Yeah. That would be good. Yeah.
Because we're just looking at text files, not anything with any graphics or any specifics.
I don't remember most of them. I remember the Squirrel Girl one.
I honestly, I don't remember who was matched to anything.
Sure. It was weird the way that they announced it, because they gave each of several different outlets a batch of covers. So there wasn't any one site that had, like, here's all of them. And all of them is kind of like an open-ended thing, because they said they'll be doing these for every all-new, all-different book, including books that have not even been announced yet, let alone scheduled. So yeah, it's... For people who keep asking about these hip-hop covers, we cannot guarantee anything at this point. If you want specific ones, you can let us know, shoot us an email, tell us in store. We flat out cannot guarantee them. So if it's very, very important for you to get these, there are several online resources that can definitely help you out and guarantee you these things, probably at a premium, but they will guarantee them to you. We will not be charging a premium on these. If we get them, they will be cover price, but we cannot guarantee we're going to get any specific ones. We will place an order for you, and if we happen to qualify for it, you'll get it. But we are not and cannot guarantee any of these.
And even if we do qualify for these, this is a little bit different than a normal Marvel variant, because once we hit the threshold, we can order whatever we want for these, but we're not going to. If we qualify for them, we're not ordering them for the shelf.
I was thinking about it, actually, because people keep asking about it in a really, like, tense way. Like, they really want them, and they're very excited about them, and they feel very nervous about them not being there. So what I was probably going to do, unless you are so against it you veto it, which you totally can, is just do a blanket 10 of each hip-hop cover. If we get them, we get them. If we don't, we don't. It'll fill some. We'll have a few to sell. But there would be no rhyme or reason to it. We would get, like, maybe 10% of what's actually offered.
I just don't want that to add to our already stressful October bill.
No, I get that. It's just that we won't qualify for them. So yeah. You're not getting more than 10 copies of a book probably each week. Probably. Like, again, just looking over this list of the stuff that's... I think, was this all of October that we just went over?
I think so.
I mean, looking at that, I think we could say 3 to 4 of them we are definitely getting, and then maybe another 2 or 3 we're maybe getting, and then the rest of them almost definitely not.
Not that you remember, but since you put together the checklist, do you remember how many titles were on it?
Yeah, it was 20 items, but that's including the Point One issue, the Avengers Zero.
Okay, because this is 18 and we just went through, so that makes sense.
Yeah, so I think those were the only ones, because I didn't put all new, all different stuff that was new for October. Like, I didn't put Chewbacca. I didn't put the What If series, because that's stuff that it has a normal ordering method for that. This is just, these books we're really nervous that you're not going to know about until it's way too late, and we want to make sure we have enough, and we want to make sure that we know what we're ordering.
I can't believe they're doing a weekly What If series on top of everything else they're doing that month.
Sure, why not, man? At this point, they are all in. They either make everybody a ton of money or they completely break the industry. We will find out which happens in October. I'm not even kidding. Like, this is one of those points where, like the New 52 stuff, it either works out and every store does gangbusters business, it makes more money in a month than they've ever made before, us included, or tons of stores go out of business because they cannot afford to pay for all the product they're getting in and they're not selling it fast enough to pay for the next week's books. Like, those are, no joke, two likely outcomes for almost every store in America. You're either going to make a ton of money or you're going to go out of business. One of the two. There is no middle ground for this.
Can't wait to find out. Hey, since I have the Marvel email open, what I've not been paying attention to all of these Build Your Iron Man promo set things. What the hell are those?
Oh, I'm not 100% sure because I don't know that they've actually shown us anything. I'm going to paste in one of these item codes to Diamond's database and see if it's got pictures. I believe it's just a paper craft thing.
Okay.
Where you get a portion of the Iron Man suit in a paper craft form over a number of months or issues. Yes, it looks like, yeah, I'm right. This one in particular, which was for which book? Bundle 6 of 6, which is the Old Man Logan Uncanny Inhumans bundle, is chest armor.
Exceed 106% of your total orders of Old Man Logan #1 with your orders for Uncanny Inhumans What? Seriously, what are you doing? You're
yeah. So it's another match 2 scheme where if you exceed if you exceed orders on one book from another book, you can order these bundles, and these bundles are essentially Build-A-Figure paper craft bundles.
Okay.
So when you have 6 of them, you'll have built Iron Man's new armor. Like,
I see.
The 6th one is the chest armor, and I'm sure the other ones are 2 legs, 2 arms, a head, and then when you're done with it, congratulations, you've constructed a paper craft Iron Man suit.
All right, well, that's really dumb. Because if you don't get all 6, you get nothing.
Yeah, that's one of the reasons why we didn't go after it, is when I looked at that, I'm like, wait, we got to do this across 6 different things for this to work? No.
I thought it was going to be a handful of different promo items like stickers or bookmarks or mini posters, and you get to build how many you get of each item kind of thing. Like, oh, did you want to get the temporary tattoo and the stickers, or did you want to get the poster and the tattoos, or did you want to get the bookmarks and the, I don't know, the shrinky dinks, whatever. Sure. Like that kind of.
No, I mean, it's not a bunch of different fun things. It is one thing that you build across 6 different orders.
I got it. Well, that just ensures that we're not getting any of them.
Oh, yeah, no, that happened already. we already passed the order point for the first one, and yeah, no, it was not going to happen.
You know what's kind of great, listener, about the way we're doing this? Because we're not sitting in chairs next to each other saying we don't have any devices to look at. As we're recording this, Dal sent me a link to, for example, how to build the chest armor piece for the Build Your Own Iron Man promo item.
Yeah, it's got what looks like a whole bunch of like tabs and slots, that kind of thing. So you attach everything to everything and you fold stuff in. And
yeah.
I'm surprised they haven't shown like an actual, here's what it looks like finished. That seems like the main thing you'd want to have to sell retailers on buying into your crazy scheme. But I guess they just assume that people are going to buy in, so they don't have to do anything.
And people can buy in a lot more because Marvel did announce that you could get your own custom, individual store-commissioned Iron Man #1.
How many do you think Midtown's going to do? I mean, I assume they're going to have one regular J. Scott Campbell cover and one black and white J. Scott Campbell cover.
Yeah, I think they'll do a total of 3.
Okay. They're going to, like, linking, I assume. That's what
I assume as well, yeah. And I'm assuming the buy-in is going to be a minimum of 3,000 copies. Yeah. I don't know for a fact because Marvel doesn't tell you because they know you just poo-poo it right away and say, I'm not doing this. So they make it so you have to email, and then they'll be like, oh, well, here's all you have to do. It's so easy.
Yeah. Plus, I wonder if they
want to email them just to find out how ludicrous it is.
Well, and the thing that I'm always concerned about is I'm sure they give different terms to different accounts. Like, you from Challengers emailing them will yield different results than the guy from Midtown, the guy from Graham Crackers, the guy from I don't know, Coliseum of Comics, the guy from some California store, I don't know, whatever. Golden Apple, I don't know. Meltdown. So yeah, that number, that's why I think they don't put it in there, is because, what does it cost? Who's asking?
Yeah. Maybe. All right, that's all I have for the Marvel email. That's good. We're going to shift gears to a segment I like to now call Things We've Overheard or Said in the Store. And I have a couple of them this week.
This is a thing?
Well, it's a thing this week.
Okay.
Based off of actual conversations. The first one I wrote down was one that I overheard, and it was on Tuesday, and it was, I was going to say a mom and a dad, but I don't know for sure. Aunt and uncle, guardian, I don't know. Guardian, and two little kids. The kids were allowed to roam around and pick some books, and they were looking at a lot of single comics in Sidekicks, which is good because normally kids that age just want Deadpool and Walking Dead and whatever. But they picked a couple of books that they wanted, and their mother figure said, "Fine, whatever you want to waste your money on." As if comics are a thing to be ridiculed and scorned and like, oh, you're wasting your money. Not, hey, good that you're reading. Not take an interest in learning and growing yourself as a person, which is what comics do, especially that age. No, you're wasting your money.
I'm always curious what someone like that would define as a valuable purchase, as a good thing to spend your money on, as like an investment. Like, what would you rather they be buying if they have to be buying something? I'm always curious about that because I always think that's pretty telling as well,
Yeah.
Don't get that comic book. You should be buying donuts. Like, all right, that's weird.
Yeah, that's just, I just wanted to take the kids aside and say, don't listen to them. But I'm a stranger. Another thing was, this one was, oh man, this one still makes me laugh, and I don't think you found it nearly as funny as I did. But I had a couple come up to me and ask, do you guys have the comic that the Gotham TV show is based off of? And I said, yeah, it's Batman. I'm pausing for the laughter.
Oh, I assume it's going to be inaudible because it's so high pitched.
Oh, well, I mean for the listener.
Oh, good.
I didn't want them to be laughing so hard they're going to miss anything else what we said.
Sure. Well, that's giving them time to like pause the podcast so they can really just like let it out.
That's true.
Without worrying that like they've missed some valuable part of the audio recording.
Yeah, but I thought that was, the comic the Gotham TV series is based off of. It's Batman. They're all Batman. They meant the GCPD, of course. They meant
Gotham Central. Yeah, it's which you and I had both sort of said. Well, it's not based on that. Like tonally, it's similar little bit.
There's characters with the same names.
No, barely. Most of those characters will not be coming back for the next season.
True, but they were there in the beginning or part of it.
Gotham Central. Gordon has already retired by the time Gotham Central starts. Because this is post No Man's Land, at which point he is not the commissioner anymore. And Bullock is off the force as a result of Officer Down.
Yeah.
So, like, both those characters show up, but, like, yeah, Jim Gordon's receiving an award in the first story, and Harvey Bullock is a disgraced former detective in the third or fourth story. So even then, like, yeah, I mean, it's about, characters like Renee Montoya and Crispus Allen, and guess what? They are not going to be coming back for season 2 of Gotham. But yeah, it was clearly what they meant. But yeah, the joke was it's based on Batman.
I had a gentleman in today who asked me this question, and we got to the bottom of it, but I'm just going to ask it to you, see where you go with it.
Okay.
Do you have the first Punisher?
The first Punisher comic or the first Punisher graphic novel?
Oh, graphic novel?
Here's the first one from the new series by Nathan Edmondson.
Well, do you mean like the first ever graphic novel he appeared in? Like some old Amazing Spider-Man Essentials? Or,
Sorry, what am I supposed to be doing at this point?
Figuring out the answer.
Oh, this is the customer saying it back to me?
No, this is what I said to him. What he wanted was Punisher Max Volume 1.
Oh, okay, yeah.
But what we got him to get was welcome back, Frank.
Okay.
And then he asks, well, can you get the other ones? Yeah, I guess, sure. But it's a whole different kind of Punisher. Like, Punisher is a tough character to, what do you want? What version do you want?
Yeah, I mean, the
The
Punisher
superhero
Max
one?
stuff...
The one where he's in the Marvel Universe? The one where he's Marvel Universe adjacent? Or the one where he's got nothing to do with anything?
The Punisher Max one is an interesting one, and it's one that I would definitely put in most people's hands. The problem is, and the reason why we don't have it, is because so many of them, not even so many of them, but enough of them are out of print that it makes stocking the entire series impossible.
Yep.
And we'd really rather not stock a series of like 10 volumes where we can only get 8 of them, because that's just inevitably going to cause us problems that we don't want to have to deal with because they're Marvel's problems, not ours.
And then even after Punisher Max, there was the Greg Rucka Punisher. Then that turned into the Greg Rucka Punisher War Zone.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's the Nathan Edmondson series.
Yeah, which is wrapped.
Yeah. And there's no announcement that we're aware of a new Punisher book.
No, although, again, there are titles that Marvel has not announced for January and February that we will probably hear something about. I'm going to take a wild guess and say the New York Convention in New York in October.
That's probably a good guess.
Yeah, it's kind of no surprise that the all-new, all-different Marvel runs from October to February, because that means it runs from San Diego Comic-Con to the New York Comic-Con. This is not their first rodeo. They know exactly how to stretch these announcements out to get maximum exposure, to hit the big shows. It's every week in the Axel in Charge, there are questions of, hey, you haven't announced a book with so-and-so, and the answer is, yeah, that sounds like a good idea, which means, yeah, we're going to get to that character. Like this week, it was...
Oh, go ahead, I'm sorry.
This week it was Iron Fist and Power Man. And the answer...
wait, what?
Well, okay, I'll give you the quote. Let me see if I can bring it up. In the open question section at the end of this week's Axel in Charge, somebody asks...
Does anybody else hear the Charles in Charge theme song when they talk about Axel in Charge?
Nope, just you and Jimmy.
Axel in charge of our days and our nights. I don't remember the melody, I just remember the lyrics. Axel in charge of our wrongs and our rights. But I see. I want Axel in charge of me. I'm sure if I look that up, I'll be completely wrong with how that goes.
Maybe. In this week's Axel in Charge on Comic Book Resources, a reader wrote in, could you give any tease as to where Luke Cage and Iron Fist will end up in the all-new, all-different universe, and if they will be in a book together? Axel Alonso's answer is, I like the sound of that. So again, pretty clear there's going to be an Iron Fist and Luke Cage comic.
Okay.
But they don't want to announce it yet because, again, they've got the New York Comic-Con.
I misunderstood that to be there was an announcement that I missed.
No.
About those characters.
But this is a thing that happens nearly every week where someone will bring up a character and they'll say, with a wink that character's going to have a book, but they can't tell you this week that character's going to have a book.
While we're talking about weird things that Marvel does, specifically there was an incident where, you know how Marvel doesn't ever help out retailers as far as returnability or correcting mistakes or reprints or whatever, things like that. Not reprints because they do it all the time, but error reprints. What I'm getting at, rather than dance around and I'll just say it, is that the most recent issue of the Marvel Previews magazine that they put out, there was a problem with the inside of the gatefold cover because it folded out to show you all the ads for a lot of the all-new, all-different Marvel series. But it was positioned wrong, so some of them were just cropped weirdly. Not even like in a way you couldn't read them, just with some odd borders and whatnot. So Marvel said, all right, we're going to replace that. And we thought, holy cow, that's crazy. They never replace stuff like that. No, they're replacing the cover. Just the cover to this magazine. So anybody who got previews, the normal Diamond Previews catalog from us, which is club only for us, we don't stock it for the shelf, that automatically gets you a copy of Marvel Previews. Marvel is giving us replacement covers for your issues. Just the cover. That's weird.
It's unusual.
It's unnecessary. It's wasteful.
Yeah, it's a little weird that they thought so much of these gatefold covers that they once they saw they were not perfect, they're like, well, we got to redo them. Yeah, but not enough to redo the magazine, just the cover.
I don't get it.
Yeah, it's a perplexing decision. I admit that when I'd seen the announcement, and just in my mind, I just thought, oh, they're reprinting the whole magazine. That's pretty cool of them. Like, yay. But then when it was the cover, it's like, what am I supposed to do with that? Just give somebody, here's the cover to the magazine that it's what? Like, it's like they cared enough to reprint it, but not cared enough to give you a new version of it. Like, they're barely meeting you halfway on that. And it's halfway for a thing that you didn't care about in the first place.
Nobody cared about it. Not a single person said, hey, look at the weird cropping on these ads on the inside covers.
It's like if Marvel made you a meal. Like, they just came to Challengers and said, Patrick, here's this meatloaf I made. And you're like, okay, thanks. And then they go, oh, wait, it was supposed to have this ingredient in it that I forgot. So here's the ingredient separately that you can just put in it yourself.
I'm going to say ham.
I didn't want this meatloaf anyway, and now you're making me do something to it, to a thing that I didn't care about before.
For anybody who makes their own meatloaf at home, here's a little trick for you. Before you roll it up into a loaf shape, why don't you flatten it out almost like dough, like flatten it out nice and thin, and then lay some thinly sliced ham and some Swiss cheese in the middle and roll that up like a ho-ho, like a Swiss cake roll, and then cook it. So I would like to think that the fancy meatloaf is what Marvel was trying to cook, but they left out the ham and the cheese.
Yeah, if I knew anything about meatloaf, or I don't know, I'll just say food in general, that would have worked out really well as an analogy.
I bet you would like the fancy meatloaf. That's what I call it, by the way. Fancy meatloaf.
I'll be honest with you, meatloaf never really did it for me.
Oh,
I had some growing up, and it was not a fave.
Huh. You know you could put ketchup on it.
I could.
It's good. It's good with ketchup, too.
I'm going to bring up one little short anecdote. A while back, I read all of a webcomic called Lucky Penny.
Okay.
Lucky Penny, I believe, at one point was going to be published by Oni, but I don't know if that's still the case or not, because it's all done online, and I don't remember seeing a ship date on it. So maybe I should email someone at Oni and say, hey, is this still a thing that we're going to be able to sell? The character of Lucky Penny, who's basically, she's a Scott Pilgrim-like character. She's someone who is constantly in over her head and at the center of, I don't know, I'm trying to think of a word to use for this, but it's, things happen to her, things that she's not necessarily in control of, and sometimes she's just really bad about doing things, and so things become worse because she's involved in them.
Is she like Hawkeye?
No, she's kind of a energetic but thoughtless character. Again, I mean, she's Scott Pilgrim, basically.
Okay.
For better or worse, and I don't want to be dismissive of the story, because the story is really good and it's very funny. But anyway, Penny has her own Tumblr, and you can ask Penny for advice. And the name of this advice column is Don't Listen to Penny.
Okay.
They're all great. Look it up. One of my favorite ones is, I'm going to see if I can get down to it. Let's see.
It looks like the Lucky Penny collection is only happening because of Kickstarter.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, they've done Kickstarters, but like when you go to the site and read the story, it's all like Oni. Oni owns it.
Huh. Okay. It looks cute. The art style is actually reminiscent of Scott Pilgrim.
Yes. So anyway, one of the questions Penny gets asked is, hi, Penny. I guess some friends are coming over this weekend, and I said I'd make dinner, but I'm really bad at cooking. Help, what should I do? And her answer is, cooking is so easy. Just log onto the internet and go to your favorite cooking website. Here's mine. And it's a link, and the link goes to seamless.com, which is a food delivery service.
Okay.
So they're great.
Wow.
I'm going to send you the link to this Tumblr. Read it. It's fun.
The Kickstarter just ended 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
They
again,
raised $68,000.
They've done multiple Kickstarters. Like, this thing comes in like a few different books, and it seems like it was just a basic, like, they're serializing it, and then Oni does the book, and you're done. But so I don't know if Oni is still doing it or not doing it, or that changed or something. But they're great. And yeah, Lucky Penny, you can read the whole goddamn thing online, and it's great.
What, if anything, are you really good at, Penny? Rude. I'm good at all kinds of stuff, like getting questions from jerks. That's funny.
Yeah, they're good. It's funny and it's cute and the art style is great. And yeah, I mean, if you like Scott Pilgrim or that kind of story, check it out. I had a blast reading it. Yeah, it's pretty
Oh
fun.
my god, I just want to read these all out loud. They're really
Yeah, I mean, the Tumblr is kind of like the first thing I saw, and then I'm like, what is this? So then I found the story, and I just read probably 200 something pages online in one night because I'm just like, this is great.
wow.
The creators do another strip, but I don't care as much about it. I care about Lucky Penny because it's a lot of fun, and she's a fun protagonist. Because she is sort of terrible in the same way that Scott Pilgrim is terrible, where she's just kind of self-centered in a, not an evil way, but just kind of a thoughtless way. And a lot of the story is her figuring out that her actions have consequences and that she needs to grow up just a little bit. Not a lot, just a little bit. But she lives in a world that is goofy and crazy. So that means that the stakes are not, they're heightened versions of things like she needs to find a place to live, she needs to find a job, she needs to figure out how to date, that sort of stuff.
Neat.
Yeah.
And since we are talking about a webcomic that had a successful Kickstarter, and earlier in the podcast I mentioned how October is a terrible, terrible month for comic bills, most likely. In frequent episodes, we often discuss doing a Patreon for this podcast, but we've never gotten around to it. One of the questions that I had, and that Dal and I talked a little bit about this week, is a lot of people with their Patreon accounts offer bonus material or things that you get as a backer, as a patron. I guess I shouldn't say backer. Backer is more like a Kickstarter thing. But as a patron, as a Patreon patron, and I was often under the opinion that if you're a patron, you're just donating money on a monthly or recurring or whatever basis to help facilitate that thing. Like, I don't necessarily assume that we challengers would create bonus content just for our patrons. I know that Colt Cabana has not a Patreon account, but a digital Colt where you could buy episodes that he doesn't have online anymore, like that, or extended versions or uncut versions kind of thing. But I guess I'm wondering, people that are Patreons, I don't know the right word to say.
Patrons.
Are patrons of other Patreon accounts, do you expect other things, or do you just like contributing because you're helping this thing continue?
I've seen it both ways.
You're a patron.
Yeah, I am. I currently support the Comics Report, which is Tom Spurgeon of the Comics Reporter, his long form magazine. The 0 issue just came out.
It's a digital magazine, though, right?
Yeah, it's a digital magazine.
You didn't share it with me?
I'll send it to you. I just looked at it on the Patreon site. I just clicked the link and it was there. I can download it, but I didn't. I will download it and I will let you read it. It's just one interview. It's not a full magazine. That's why it's a 0. It was mostly, he said, to kind of figure out formatting and how they want it to look and what fonts and what page layouts and all that kind of stuff, so that by the time one comes out with all of its various features, it will be a lot more put together.
Does that even matter to you? Like, would you care if it was just a big text file?
No, but I'm not the one making it. And as someone who spent a day tweaking something for their own gratification, I would expect you to be okay with it.
I don't know what you're referring to.
Anytime you make something, the person making it is probably going to care way more about the fine
Today
details.
is August 7th, and I spent a majority of the day working on this year's holiday card.
Sure.
Because I had an idea, and if I don't act on it, it doesn't necessarily get done. For example, last year's ornament card, I thought of 2 years ago, and it only got made because I passed it off to somebody else.
Sure. But
this year, I had an idea, and it required the participation of someone else. So when this person responded and gave me their blessing, I jumped at it, and I can't tell you how many versions I had to print out today, because it was, let's try this, let's work on this, let's tweak this, and invaluable assistance from both Gina Challenger and Donovan Challenger, and of course, Dal Bush. And I think that because everybody had a little bit of a say, it's turning into a whole different thing than I expected, but a better thing.
Well, that's good. But
so,
specifically...
That's what Dal meant.
Specifically, there was a moment where Gina Challenger had made what comment to you, Patrick?
I can't believe you're still working on this. If it were me, I would have finished it an hour ago and just said, that's good enough.
But that's the thing. Like, for us,
it wasn't good enough.
Yeah. I mean, not that we hold ourselves to a higher standard, but it's the typical artist thing of, like, you have a vision of it in your mind and you haven't made that happen yet.
Yeah.
So until you get to that point where it's like, that's like how I saw it in my head, it won't be good enough. But
the things I spent the most time on are tiny and so much better now. And Gina even agrees, and Donovan wasn't there to see the end result. But it was driving me crazy. And there was a lot of failed attempts like, well, what if I pixelate this in pattern and overlay it onto this layer? And it wasn't working. It wasn't working. And then when I realized what I had to do, it was a lot of highlighting and cutting and pasting multiple times for the tiniest little thing that then had to be repeated 3 other times.
Right. And my point is that you have a vision of it, you want to get it out in the world, and you won't be happy with it until it's exactly what you saw in your head. But the twist is that it will never be what you saw in your head, which is why every single artist you've ever met and ever will meet is disappointed in their work. Because they know it can be better. They just don't know how to make it the thing that they know it can be.
Right.
Which is why every artist is so goddamn neurotic.
I'm writing down I hadn't written down what we just discussed earlier about the card. I hadn't written it down. So I'm writing it down now so I don't forget it. So talk.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so Fantastic Four.
No. Patreon. We're talking about Patreon.
What am I saying about Patreon?
Ultimately, what I want to know is what do people care about getting something special, or are they just happy to back a thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I was saying, I've seen it both ways. I've seen Patreons that are just, you're making this thing happen. I would appreciate if you could help me make this thing happen, but it's happening regardless. You'll just make it easier on me for it to happen. So there aren't thresholds and whatever. It's just give what you can. You're making my life incrementally better by giving me money for what I'm already doing. Or there's ones where it's a lot of like, you know, if I'm going to make a song, you're making me make more songs, or I'll make a song for you, or you'll get a chance to vote on what the song should be, or whatever. Or if I'm drawing a comic strip, you're giving me the opportunity to make more comic strips. And then you're giving me the opportunity to do bonus strips just for patrons. And now you're giving me the opportunity to do more bonus strips for patrons. Yeah, all of that stuff. It really seems like it's specific to what people are doing. Like, I've seen Patreons for Chris McFeely, who's the guy who does the Transformers recaps for the Transformers Wiki. Giving him extra money, he can't recap more comics than he's already doing because he's recapping every Transformers comic that comes out.
Okay.
They can't be more in detail. They can't be longer because they're already definitive. You know, I mean, it's a wiki. It's got everything in it. And he's putting them up the day they come out. Like, the only thing you can do is make it a little bit more worth his while to do this thing that he was going to do anyway. He can't give you bonus material. Like, I think one of the things is he'll go back and recap some old cartoons that they don't have really definitive recaps for. But, I mean, that would be like what we would do. Like, I don't know what else we could do. We could make up something, I guess, but, you know, it's not like people are clamoring for some extra thing. And if they are, God, clamor louder because we don't know what it is.
A couple of episodes ago, we talked about a local business that was trying to run an Indiegogo campaign to raise money to stay in business. And as we're talking, I'm looking up, but I can't find it. But what I thought was pretty darn funny was immediately after we recorded, I got an email from my brother that said, hey, I heard this thing on the radio, and it gives me a really good idea for an Indiegogo campaign for challengers. And I had to say, man, I can't do it. I can't.
Too late.
I don't know what your idea is, but we cannot do an Indiegogo campaign for the store because I just shit all over that idea. Somebody else tried to do it. And I haven't heard his idea, and maybe it's a good idea, but yeah, I don't know. But I think we touched on this then. The difference between an Indiegogo and a Patreon is the Indiegogo is, please give us money, we're going out of business. The Patreon is, hey, it's completely voluntary. If you enjoy this podcast we're doing and want to kick us a couple of bucks, That's cool, but it's not a make or break thing, and we're not begging for your money.
Right.
So I feel better about that because I feel like we're actually getting closer to actually doing this.
Yeah,
and then not doing it when nobody contributes.
Yeah, that's the thing. What I would really love, and seems like, a thing we say every week but never results in anything, is hearing from people like, what would you want from a Patreon? Like, what do you want us to? Is it literally just, I wish I could give you money for this thing that you're already making, because that's great and we can make that happen, or is it, we'd like the podcast to get better or do more or have a wider scope or include this other element? Like,
or not have you in separate ear channels.
I would love to hear almost anything feedback-wise that would be informative. Like, anything. Like, even if it's an idea where, like, it's like there's no way we could do that if we were getting $1,000 a month to do this.
You say that,
I'd still like to hear it.
We had a pretty lengthy and, I think, productive podcast conversation Tuesday night when we went out to dinner with our good friend John Suntress.
Oh, it's true.
And he told us a lot about John. As you all know, John is the voice of the comics industry, and there's no one he doesn't know. So he is a veritable font of knowledge, but of stories, and the stories are great. But one of the things I like most about chatting with Sonny about retail is he doesn't have a lot of the retail background. He doesn't know a lot of the things that we talked about in this very episode. Those are all new to him, so he's fascinated by it. And we love hearing about his reach, because his reach is phenomenal, and his downloads are pretty amazing. And I felt better about what we do on this show, and honestly what we do in the store after every time I get to hang out with John Suntress. And I hope you do too.
Yes.
That's one of the drawbacks of not being in the same room, is that we can't convey, okay, it's your turn.
Yeah, there's times where I've thought, and we've done this like twice. There's times where I've thought maybe we should have like a video component as well. But then it's like,
oh God, no.
It seems like that's what you like best about this setup, is like, I'm just in my room. And I don't think...
I mean, why have a video component? We can just be back in the library.
Because the audio's better? I don't know, man.
I don't know that it is.
Is it? I don't...
It wasn't.
That's the thing I'm also curious about. Do people think it sounds better? Not better?
Well, I mean, this week and last week are going to be completely... Like, you shouldn't even measure them against each other.
Okay.
And hopefully I'll learn what I'm doing more. Hopefully I know what I'm doing now, but we'll find out. We'll find out. All right, I've got just two more things that I want to get through on my list. I don't know if you have a list.
I have no list.
I would like to mention that we got a pretty great indie comic restock this week from Radiator Comics, and Radiator Comics is not a publisher. They are a distributor, and they are a distributor of small press and indies and zines. And we were lucky enough that Neil, the guy who runs it, actually came to the store saying, like a traveling salesman, like, here's the spring line. Here's a sample of my wares. What do you want from this pile? And we got, I think, a pretty great selection of new local, not local, indie, zine, black and white. They're all on the new this week left half of the wall currently. Yeah. We got a couple of new events that are coming up that we have just announced via our email campaign, or today it went out. Yeah. But we can finally talk. One I was alluding to last week on this very podcast and hadn't even told Dal who it was, but now it's all official.
Now I know.
That am Bizarro writer Heath Corson.
Yes.
He am terrible writer.
I'm not gonna do Bizarro.
Bizarro speak is really tough to do, and Heath Corson is a good writer, and he's written a lot of the DC animated movies.
Yeah.
And Bizarro is his first comic, and we love it. It's a book we've been pushing, and our very good friend Gustavo Duarte draws it. So now we're having Heath Corson come in on Wednesday, September 9th.
Yeah.
To sign Bizarros 1 through 4.
Yep.
Heath is also while he's an LA guy, he has roots in Chicago. His family's in Chicago, so he's one of us. Come meet Heath Corson.
Yeah, it should be fun. I'm looking forward to meeting him. I've enjoyed the Bizarre issues. I hope that he's got a long and productive comics career ahead of him.
It's only the beginning.
Sure, I hope so.
I feel like before we get into talking about Batman Day, I really need to emphasize Rob Schamberger, who's going to be here before you know it.
Yeah, August 19th.
Wednesday the 19th. Yeah, and I was just talking to someone today saying that Rob Schamberger was just a guest recently on either Mark Maron's WTF or Chris Hardwick's Nerdist podcast, one of those. I'm not sure which one, but he has been on good old JR's podcast. Jim Ross had him on, which is how I learned his name was Schamberger, not Schomburger, even though we've had him to the store before, and I kept calling him Rob Schamberger. He's too polite to correct me. Also, he's a dude that uses DDP yoga and dropped a ton of weight as a result, so I might not even recognize him when he's in next.
Cool.
I mean, he was never a big guy, but he lost, I guess, like 60 pounds on DDP yoga.
Good for him.
He is going to be doing an exclusive print just for his Challenger signing, not even available anywhere else that he'll be, just for Challengers. And while I'm pretty sure I know what it is, I'm pretty sure we helped him decide what it's going to be. I'm not exactly sure, so it's not that we're not announcing it because we're being coy. I'm not positive.
Yeah. Well, and he's an artist as well, so just because we had talked about something doesn't mean that's what ended up being produced.
I mean, he may very well have decided to make it a tribute to Roddy Piper.
Yeah.
To Dusty Rhodes.
Uh-huh.
That was not what we discussed. Obviously, when we talked about it, they were still alive.
Yes.
But anyway, Rob will come out, and Rob will not only art show as well, he's going to have a bunch of his originals up, and Rob is a guy that you've heard me talk about around Christmas last year because he painted a gorgeous portrait of my folks for them for Christmas last year, and he works with watercolor and acrylic and oil and on wood or on paper or on canvas, and there's plenty of YouTube videos of him in action. He does like at least one new painting a week specifically for the WWE. He's really good, and he's super down to earth, and at one point even wrote an Image comic.
Yeah.
That I was going to, because I don't own it, but I was going to buy a bunch on eBay and have them here for him to sign, but I think it's definitely a thing because it was like 2005 that he did that he'd rather just not be confronted with it.
Let's focus on the wrestling paintings.
We did talk about artists earlier about, overly critical and who wants to see that thing from 10 years ago. And while we have other events that are scheduled but not confirmed, we can confirm Batman Day, which we had last year, which was a whole lot of fun while I was in San Diego. I didn't get to experience it at all, but this year it is a Saturday in September 26th, 6th, and it will be fun.
Yeah, I hope so. The first Batman Day in 2014 was a Wednesday, and DC helped us make a big deal out of it, and people seemed really excited about it, and Brian Mead was sketching, and that was incredibly kind of him to donate his time like that. So that was a big fun day. This time it's a Saturday, and we're kind of slowly but surely piecing stuff together. For the first one, DC basically said, here's all the stuff we're doing, and here's all the stuff you can have for it, and we went, that's great. This time it seems like DC week by week is like, oh, I guess we could do this too. So we keep figuring out new things that we can add to the event and ways that we can participate in it. So what we have now is hopefully a very fun event, but I have hopes that it will get better as DC gets closer to the event and hopefully gives us a little bit more for it.
This year we'll be having two artists in residence sketching, Alex Rosado and Donald Cardenas.
Yep, we'll have a free exclusive giveaway comic from DC. It'll be Batman Endgame Part 1, and to make things easier for folks that have been heard nothing but good things about the Endgame storyline, they can pick up a copy of the graphic novel because DC moved up the release 2 months, so it will be out in time for Batman Day.
Yay! And there'll be activities and other things and possibly flashbacks for Dal as a teen wearing a very hot rubber Batman costume while serving lemonade on the streets of Downers Grove.
I wasn't serving lemonade. I was waving at cars.
Okay, cars. That's good. Not like Rick Ocasek, but actual cars going by.
Yeah, automobiles, not the band.
Okay, that's good.
Otherwise, I would have said the Cars.
What about Gary Newman's song, Cars?
I would not wave at that.
Okay. Last week, I asked a question in the description of this episode, or that episode, last week's episode. I believe the episode was entitled Breaking the Chains. Normally, I try to find a title that matches something that we had said or talked about. For example, this week's episode may be called Scene Missing. However, the description of last week's episode was simply, if we were to start naming every episode after Dokken songs, how long would it take you to notice? Well, no one said anything. So I feel like I'm honor bound to keep naming these episodes after Dokken songs.
Sure.
So I don't know what I'll pick. I'll just randomly look at my iTunes and decide.
Do you have every Dokken album in your iTunes?
No, but I do have every Dokken album in my
Okay.
CD collection. I mean, there are Dokken albums I will never listen to again.
Sure. I guess you could
So
always
they're not in my iTunes, but I have them out in the hallway.
you could just go to Wikipedia and you can get a song list there.
Sure. I mean, there's a song list in my head.
Okay.
I can just randomly pick one as well.
From your brain.
From my brain, which is not a Dokken song or the name of an album.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like before when I said I only have 2 things left, I don't know that I got through those 2 things, but all my notes are checked off.
Huh.
That's good enough.
Huh.
That'll have to do. Thanks for listening, everybody.
And keep reading comics.
This has been Contest of Challengers. Thanks for listening. Keep reading comics. Challengers is located at 1845 North Western Avenue in the Bucktown neighborhood of Chicago. 773-278-0155. You can visit Challengers on the web at challengerscomics.com. You can direct email to challengers@challengerscomics.com. You can become a fan on Facebook at facebook.com/challengerscomics. And you can follow Challengers on Twitter at twitter.com/challengers.
All right, now we stay and talk for a minute or two just to make sure that... Shut up! Now we should fucking talk about fucking. For
Okay.
the record, I would go to a place called fucking.
Fucking.
I feel like there'd be a stage show that would, garner some attention, some eyeballs, maybe, some eye views.
Yeah. I might throw some money at that.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I'm thinking Alone Again is the Dokken song for the week.
Yeah.
It's the first one to pop in my head. There's no significance to it.
Okay. I feel like it should be something that's at least, tangentially related to the episode.
Oh, that's too much effort.
No? All right. I'm going to now I'm going
Lightning Strikes Again. How's that?
now I'm going to the goddamn what page am I going to go to? Category Dokken songs.
Category Dokken songs? I'm sorry.
Here we go. For more information, see Dokken. Okay, I will.
How about Dream Warriors?
I'll look now. Studio albums. Go to something off of Tooth and Nail.
How about Tooth and Nail? How long does it take to break the spell?
How about
Straight to the top, Tooth and Nail.
How about Turn on the Action?
Turn on the action! Turn on the night! Yeah, fine. Turn on the action.
Yay! I contributed.
I was trying to pull up that album, but I realized that because my computer had just restarted, iTunes wasn't open, so I go to open it now, and I just get the scrolling green bar, checking iTunes library. Thank you, Windows 10, for constantly rebooting my fucking computer.
There's got to be a way that you can make that happen less often.
Yeah, I could turn off automatic updates.
There you go.
I just haven't.
Okay.
I just haven't, but I guess.
All right, let's take a look at Breaking the Chains. Patrick, can you tell me the 4 listed band members of Dokken?
Oh my God, easily.
Easily. For Breaking the Chains?
It's not just for Breaking the Chains, it's for Back for the Attack.
Okay, but I'm looking at 1981's.
It's for Tooth and Nail and Under Lock and Key. It is Don Dokken, George Lynch, Mick Brown, and my personal friend Jeff Pilson.
Incorrect.
Excuse me?
According to the Wikipedia page for 1981's Breaking the Chains, personnel, band members, Don Dokken, lead vocals, rhythm guitars.
Yes.
George Lynch, lead guitars.
Uh-huh.
Juan Crucier,
That's Crozier.
Crozier. Juan Crozier?
Yes.
Okay. Bass backing vocals. Credited but did not play on the album. Wild Mick Brown on drums.
Yeah, you know who played on the album? Jeff Pilson.
Additional musicians. Bass uncredited, Peter Baltes.
You know where Juan Crozier went to after this?
The gutter.
No. Although, the creature that lives in the gutter, or a creature that lives in the gutter.
I don't know where.
A rat.
Oh, okay. Bonus points. Can you tell me who produced, engineered, and mixed this album?
Keith Olsen.
Michael Wagoner.
Then no, I can't.
Okay. Do you have a favorite Dokken album?
Back for the Attack.
Okay. 1987's Back for the Attack?
Yeah. Their first song, Kiss of Death, was all about AIDS. And it wasn't until all right, so there was a George Lynch and Don Dokken hate each other's guts now.
Okay.
And Dokken broke up, and then Don Dokken kept it going with just Mick Brown, and George Lynch and Jeff Pilson did a couple projects together called LP, Lynch and Pilson. And then they pulled Mick Brown back in and had a band called TNA, Tooth and Nail. Or I'm sorry,
Slave to
TNA.
the Empire.
You're a slave to the Empire. The original name for that was Dump the Chump. The Chump being Don Dokken. Anyway, half of Slave to the Empire was new songs. Half of them were re-recorded Dokken songs with different vocalists. And Tim Ripper Owens did the Kiss of Death song. And there's the first line in it, I didn't know I was getting it wrong forever until I heard the Tim Ripper Owens version. I thought the line was, a brief encounter that went to the sheets came so suddenly. The line is actually, a brief encounter like wind through the trees came so suddenly.
Whoops.
And it was the Tim Owens version that I'm like, holy shit, that's the line. So I actually tweeted about that. I didn't tag anybody, but Tim Ripper Owens found it and retweeted it.
That's awesome. Changing gears, I did not realize
that encounter like wind to the trees. See, I almost did it wrong. Came so suddenly. Yes, go on.
I did not realize that the M in MSG stood for Macaulay. I always thought it was Michael Schenker Group.
Okay. It is Michael Schenker Group. For 3 albums, it became Macaulay Schenker Group.
Okay.
For Robin McCauley, the lead singer, who is no longer in the band.
Okay.
So they didn't have to change the name. It's still MSG.
Okay. That's weird. Yeah.
For 10 bonus points,
I feel like you need to be cleaning up all of these articles.
Like, oh yeah, right? Okay, for 10 bonus points, can you tell me what band Robin McCauley currently sings for?
Oh, man.
It's not a metal band. It's a well-known 80s band that had a huge hit that was part of a movie, that was an anthem for a movie.
I will tell you right now, I would not know it. However, I did go to his Wikipedia page.
God damn it.
And so I'm going to say Survivor?
Yes. 10 bonus points to Dal.
No, it's not. I disqualified myself immediately. Yeah,
My favorite band of Rob McCauley was a band called Bleed that only ever put out 4 songs.
Dude, the MSG page. This article does not cite any references or sources. Please help improve this article by adding citations to reliable sources.
I'm not a reliable source.
Well, no, like their first sentence in here in the actual article is, MSG is the third and final studio album from Michael Schenker and Robin McCauley's project, the Macaulay Schenker Group. But it wouldn't be always the Macaulay Schenker Group.
No.
Like, that would be... Okay, here we go. Like, if you go to their page, it will say that the Macaulay Schenker Group was a successor to Schenker's earlier band, the Michael Schenker Group. Macaulay was initially contacted to replace which singer in MSG, Patrick?
I don't know.
Gary Barden.
I only got into MSG when Robin McCauley was into the band.
Oh, okay.
Okay, I think we're good.
This covers all of the padding you might need.
I think so.
All right. Well, just cut the rest. If the recording is solid and nothing's been dropped out at the end, obviously you cut this, and this becomes our first Patreon bonus episode.
I feel like this is definitely bonus episode stuff.
I'm sorry?
I feel like you're right.
I mean, it's us rambling through Wikipedia and me learning things about Michael Schenker. What amount would people not pay for that?
I feel like what we should do is put this at the end of this week's episode after the credits and be like, this is what you would get.
Oh my God, no. Don't talk people out of it.
Are you kidding? This is my favorite part of the whole episode.
Of course it is. We're talking about MSG. And you got to sing Dawkins songs.
I can always do that.
And you got to mention the time Tim Ripper Owens retweeted you.
That was pretty great.
I'm sure. Do you have more followers than him? You do, don't you?
I don't know. I actually may.
That one time that Tim Ripper Owens direct messaged you, signal boost? ?
Okay, bye.
Bye.